Welcome to episode 4 of Divots and Pivots, everyone. I am your host, Andrew LeDuc, and I am excited to have with me again this week Mr. Bud Copeland and then our special guest, Caitlin Moyer from Stick and Hack. Actually, Bud is also from Stick and Hack, so this is a little collaboration, I guess, with the company. But
collusion.
Okay, collusion. Caitlin, we'll start with you. How's your day going today?
Oh, it's great. Had a full day of work, teaching a little yoga. Now I'm here with you guys. That's awesome.
I know you're definitely multi-talented. I forget exactly how it's worded on your Twitter, but it's something along the lines of
she's a free agent. She's a 5-tool
free
player.
Agent,
she
that's
can
what
do
it
it
was,
all.
Yeah, that's what. Look at you, bud. You got it memorized.
Wow, yeah, I'm impressed. I was like thinking, what's in my bio right now?
Freaking creeper over here. No, I was actually thinking we had similar mornings. I woke up, I did a Peloton, and I'm not just saying that because I want to get anything free, which I do eventually. But then I went straight to my Nike yoga app, my Nike training app. Somebody on a call the other day said, "How do you get 35-year-old men to do yoga?" I said, "You got to put it in an app. And you got to make sure." I was like, you can't, they don't put them in public first. Let them do it in their basement and they'll get hooked. And I've been 5 years into it now. So that's just funny that you said that. Namaste. Good to see you, Andrew. Good to see you as well. How are you doing today?
I am good. I am tired. I'm on a work trip. So that's why I have a fancy background for once instead of my mustard yellow wall behind me. And sometimes maroon blanket covering the window. But yeah, other than tired, I'm good. I'm good out here on the road doing work, getting it done. As you like to say, your temporary 9 to 5 or however you say it. But we're
my
here.
Future former 9 to 5.
Future former, yeah, those are the words. So
got to grind.
Always got to grind. So here on episode 4 today, so we're going to be talking about one of my favorite tournaments of the year, the Waste Management Phoenix Open. It's an environment that, other than the classy Masters environment I would love to see, I want to go out and I just want to be Happy Gilmore crazy at TPC Scottsdale. I think it would just be a blast. I think it's the type of environment that brings some fun to golf that we need to bring in some casual viewers here and there. So I love this tournament. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to talk about Caitlin and her journey. She's got an interesting path to be joining us here today. So really excited to dive into that, and yeah, we're gonna get this going for you here. So you can catch us. You're probably watching us live here on tikilive.com, but if you happen to be missing that, you can catch us on Twitter, YouTube, all the normal places from there, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all that fun. So check us out. So to get started though, Caitlin, so you used to be Milwaukee Brewers marketing in that. So what was your position there? Were you head of marketing, or were you an assistant, or what was it?
So I worked for the Brewers for almost 2 decades. I started as marketing coordinator, worked my way up to director of new media. So when I started there, social media didn't exist. Built the department and ran it. That's where I was focused for the last 7 years. So really focused on digital and social.
Okay, so you really grew with that whole trend that's now taking over the world of marketing, the SEO and all that fun stuff. But now we find you here living in the golf world. So was golf always like a passion of you that you just finally get the chance to explore career-wise?
I love sports. I always wanted to work in sports. Actually wanted to be a sports journalist. Never wanted to be on air or anything like that, but I love writing. And then in college, I wrote for the college paper in high school. And then my stupid backwards thinking was I don't want to have a deadline every day. So I switched majors to PR and marketing, which, okay, now you have 20 deadlines every day. But it worked out. It was a good field for me. And I wanted to be in sports. Golf is the only sport I really played. So, but I also was a big baseball and hockey fan. So I ended up in baseball, got an internship, and kind of never really left there. And along the way, I continued to play golf and continued to be a fan of the sport. But baseball is a really long season, and it takes up the bulk of the best weather months here in Wisconsin, where I'm at. So whenever I have a chance to play, I just go play. My practice just went to the wayside. It was okay, if I have, in 2 hours, I'm just going to go play 9 quick. And so my game kind of devolved, but I still enjoyed it. I got to do a lot of cool stuff with the game because I liked golf, and a lot of the baseball players like golf. So we took players out a few times. The PGA came to Wisconsin a few years ago, and we had Jason Duffner come out and do a stadium shootout at Miller Park with one of our players, Kyle Losch, and they kind of had a side bet going on Twitter. We had a blast. So I was able to mix in golf, but now I've got my own freelance communications and marketing business. I do a lot of freelance writing, which like I said, got back to my roots, got back to kind of that journalistic impulse. I do a lot of PR. I still do some social media for some brands. I'm working with a couple tournaments. So I've been really fortunate my whole career to really mix in the things that I love and, find a way to get paid to do those things.
That's awesome. It sounds like the dream to me. If I could find that's what the goal. If I can make that happen, that's it right there. Just do what you love and find someone who's going to pay for you. What I'm curious though, so you mentioned a lot of the baseball players like to play golf too, though. It was something that I was always told, like, they just because it's such complete opposite types of swings and movements, like, does it not mess up their swing for baseball? Do the teams allow them to play golf in a season? Like
mostly starting pitchers, because they have every 5 days they have to work. Between that, they can play, and there's not going to mess up their swing. Yeah. A lot of our relievers actually did love to play golf too. But yeah, we had spring training in Arizona every year. I got to basically pick up and live there for 5-6 weeks, and we would take guys out. We did things like test out the segways, test out the scooter golf board things, and promote some of those things for some of the different courses. And one of my favorite stories was Kyle Losch, he's now retired, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was in on the Champions Tour in a few years, because he's a scratch golfer and he's awesome. And he was a veteran player at the time. He wasn't on social media. And this is right when we were starting our social media department. And so we went out, myself, 2 other players. The 3 of us played a best ball scramble against his ball. And the deal was, if we beat him, he had to join Twitter. And it took us till the 17th hole, the 3 of us, to beat him, but we did. And he joined Twitter. And now when he gets into Twitter arguments with people, I'm like, I did that, world. He's a great follow.
You unleashed him on everyone.
He's funny. He's friends with a lot of tour players, I'm learning. He's always jabbing back and forth with Max Homa, and but he's a good dude. But he's really, really good golfer. So fortunate to get to play with him a few times.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think I find so many interesting parallels between golf fans and baseball fans. Cause I had, the Pesky report was on here a couple weeks ago, and he said something in the interview about how he has a hard time watching golf because he doesn't like to watch a ball get hit and people chase after it. I was like, well, that's baseball. And that's your favorite. So I find it interesting, because you said people who baseball's such a long season. Well, the golf season never stops. Technically, they kind of take a week off and then jump right into just some smaller tournaments. So I do find it interesting that some people can't watch both. They just pick one or the other. Have you talked to anybody who's had any opinion on that, just in your time in the baseball industry, or it's just a question that popped in my head here?
No, I haven't really ever looked at it like that myself, to be honest with that. But that's a really good point. One thing that I noticed recently, when you think about it, golf is so unique. You might have your favorite player that you are cheering for and hope will win, but you're also cheering just for good golf, good shots for anybody. Definitely. And even if there's a player where you're like, I don't really know if I care for that player, if he hits an awesome shot, you can appreciate that. Versus baseball, where Brewers fans hate Cubs fans. We can never cheer for the Cubs fans, or we can never cheer for the Cubs if even if they threw a no-hitter, which they have, and against us, and it's no, we're not gonna. We could tip our cap and say, all right, good job, but still.
And it's because the Cubs and the Brewers are faceless, nameless, organizational, evil corporate entities that just, suck all the money out of us, where, Justin Thomas has a face, Lorena Ochoa has a name and, a story. And so that's why I think it is, there are fewer hatreds, I think, in individual sports. There are definitely some demons and some anti-heroes out there. We were talking about Patrick Reed before the show a little bit, and he's the classic example of, somebody who seems to have a target on his back. And sometimes you might ask, is it because just golf has to have a couple? Like, you have to have a couple people that you can either beat up on or Twitter can, take down whenever they're bored.
Every story has a villain.
And as far as the idea of being slow or, being able to cheer for, you have your favorite player, but there's 144 players. Your favorite player is not going to win more often than not. But it's like in March Madness, where if your team gets to the show and they get out in the first round, you might still pay attention because there's going to be another story that's fascinating. And then you get to relive it next week in the PGA Tour and the LPGA Tour every single time. You put your little dot there on the horse that you're following. They might get knocked out. Terrible analogy. We know what happens to horses in races when they get knocked out, but you're still going to sit there and cheer it on because there's going to be another race next week. Back to you in the studio, Andrew.
No, it's a great point that golf is one of those few sports that there really isn't much hatred in. Even like the quote unquote hatred that there is so much more of a playful hatred. Like, well, I was just gonna say, so Caitlin, which side of that did you find yourself on? Because we might as well ask. So I found myself on the Brooks side only because I just thought his responses were so much more entertaining. Like the faces he gave Bryce, the things he said, I thought they were just wittier and snarkier.
You know what? I didn't choose a side.
You are now.
I thought it was all good for golf because people are paying attention. That's what I'm cheering for, is for golf. And if that's what gets people interested and gets them to watch and to tune in and pay attention, then okay, fine. Like, I don't know. I feel like both of them are playing it up a little bit on both sides. Yeah. And both of them did things that maybe they, in hindsight, wouldn't have done. And, but at the end of the day, I think golf came out the winner there.
I agree.
I agree. Like nothing too negative came out of that like scarred the sport or anything, or put a stain on it. Which
I
think
also
is
agree
important.
that Andrew Brooks had the upper hand on the chirpiness. I'm a Florida kid. I grew up around similar area and folks that Brooks. We didn't run in same circles at all. We were in different parts, but same part of Florida kind of thing. And I just identified with his sense of humor on the whole thing. I just thought it was wry and dry and perfect. And like Caitlin, to your point, it was good for golf. It got some bros to tune in who wanted a little bit of a mudslinging match. You got some people to tune in who simply just were like, wait a minute, who and why are they showing up on Good Morning America? Like, why do I care what Michael Strahan is saying about Brooks versus Bryson? And then they all went and drank champagne together at the Ryder Cup, and I thought that was very sweet. And then they all cashed in on after the fact, which I don't fault them for either.
No, not at all. You got to take those opportunities when you can. And just on the topic of what was good for golf, I actually think it's good just on the Bryson topic. So, because I think we see it with baseball, we're going to draw another parallel to baseball here, where baseball has gone so analytical in that, it's the topic of the last 2 years about this pace of the game and how coaches and managers aren't even really managing the game. They're just reading out of a binder. I get the arguments 100%. So I kind of think it's good that someone like Bryson, who is very outwardly and obviously he's just playing math out there, basically. I mean, he's obviously got the skills to swing the club, but for him, every shot has 6 different mathematical factors to it. And for him to not be going out there and playing perfect all the time and having these flaws, I think shows that, there's factors like that if you study hard can have an effect, but you still just got to be good. You still got to have the skills. And I think that is great for the game because there can still be that appreciation for those guys who are at that level, and you can, respect them and kind of want to strive to be that. So, I think Bryson not being unstoppable is good for the game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you're spot on with the analytics stuff. I mean, it's driving a lot of sports these days, baseball in particular. And then on that extreme with golf, when they had the match, it was really fascinating because you read all the things that he's studying it into, but it's to hear his mental thought process out loud of how he's looking at a green and reading a putt, and I'm just I think it's a little left to right,
Yeah, my left foot seems to feel a little shorter.
But that's the perfect. I think that's why they were yin and yang from the start, because Brooks he's not necessarily grip it and rip it I mean, he's the modern grip it and rip it. You know, John Daly was the mullet and the cigarette and the beer, which John Daly, but Brooks is the cleaner cut version of, look, it's a ball, it's a number, you pick a club and you hit it, and then you go up and you do it again. And Andrew, I think it's like you say, it's good to show that, yeah, there's this big monster behind, monster equation that he's putting in every single time. But at the end of the day, you've got to execute. And that's what the sport's all about. And Caitlin, you were talking about the baseball player earlier. Give me his last name again.
Kyle Losch.
Losch, thank you. And I in the Champions Tour or something, and people would be like, "Oh, dream on." Listen, if you've already played anything at the major league level, whether that's baseball, basketball, if you have some semblance, and the crossover between the two sports, Andrew, you were talking about this earlier. The swing, I'm sorry, it's a myth. It's a myth. I played baseball, I played golf, I was at a decent level. I'm a scratch golfer now. I'm not gonna say scratch, point something, but anyway, in baseball, but they never interfered because you can make adjustments. And also when I was younger, it was easier to do. But somebody like Mr. Kyle Losch, he's already done that mentally. He knows how to turn into game time. I guarantee you, if you were to talk to him, it's like whether he's in the boardroom, the golf course, the batting cage, wherever he is, they're so mentally trained to just go click. All right, what are we doing? So if the muscle memory is there, if he's a scratch golfer, a plus handicap, out there taking on 3 people at once to 17, 18 holes deep, get on him, son. That's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely think you should. I don't know if he has any designs on that, but I'm like, you should. Like, you basically retired at like 40, so
we'll start his fan club.
Go for it.
We'll start his fan club. There was Choi's Boys back in the day. We'll the Kyle bunch, Losch, I'll figure it out. Back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, I think that if you're a good athlete, that's why there's so many 3, 2, 3, 4 sport athletes out there, because it's that mindset and that mentality. And the swing might be different. He's a pitcher, so like, I don't know, his batting average is probably bad anyway, so that doesn't matter as much. But I remember back in the day, I played golf in high school, and that's as competitive as I got. But I was also playing a lot of like rollerblade street hockey. Nice. And my golf coach told me to stop because he said my hockey swing was screwing up my golf swing. And I don't know if that's true or not. But like, then you look at like Happy Gilmore, and
I'm glad you said it first, because I was about to.
I'll keep this one short, Andrew, but actually in Florida, when I was growing up, I picked up golf when I was like 12, 13 years old, and I was always a baseball first guy. In high school, freshman and sophomore year, baseball and golf were the same season. So no brainer, had to play baseball. My junior year, golf moved to a fall sport. And the conversation was actually very short with the coach, because I mean, he basically was just saying, I show up January to practice and just don't screw up. He's like, what do I care what you do? Don't get hurt. He's like, I'm not going to tell you not to play golf. And I was like, well, I'm going to miss the preseason workouts. And he's like, that's on you. Like, you're still going to be asked to perform in January. So, and I think that's actually where the first love came from, was the fact that, like, if you have hand-eye coordination, golf, tennis, billiards, even, I mean, ping pong, those are kind of the sports that you gravitate towards. Along with baseball and general sports. I don't know. Ping pong's not probably the highest on everybody's.
No, but even just because you're right, like even just throwing billiards in there, like I've never made that parallel, but you're right. It's, you got to do a lot of the same mental stuff and connecting it to your hands. And I mean, I've never thought about that, but it's an interesting thought to connect billiards and golf and say that, people who like this might like this as well. That's a very interesting take on that. I like it. Bringing the insights.
The analytics, back to that is, it's really blown up like so much.
Yeah.
And this past year I spent kind of reconnecting with golf and writing a series with Stick and Hack. Okay, I have all this time now to dedicate back to golf. Let's see if how much I can improve in a year. Can I get back to like playing competitively? So
nice.
I took lessons. I got new clubs. And then there was all these other things that did not exist even just when I was in high school. And I'm not that old, but like, okay, we couldn't use rangefinders. And now like that, and I don't think they even existed back then. And I got fitted for a golf ball, and I had.
Wait, you can get fitted for golf balls?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to stop real quick because I was nodding my head, going, "Yeah, I'm gonna get fitted for clubs." What? Stop! Like, you're going deep. Yeah, can we hit the pause button? What was that like?
I
Fitting
did
for a golf ball
with Titleist, and I think other companies do it too. And I went out on a range with Titleist, hit a few shots with a few different balls, and they were like based on your. I don't know if it was your. I'm probably butchering this. They'll probably get a letter from them to issue a correction. Basically the swing speed, the spin rate, the trajectory, all these things. This is the best type of ball that you should have.
Okay. Have you noticed a difference?
I'm too afraid to play with the Pro V1.
Is that what? Hold on. Is that what you like, quote unquote, tested into?
Pro V1X was what I was fitted for, and
okay.
I have some, but when I'm only going to take those out when it's like a wide open fairway. There's no woods on one side or a lake on the other side, because it's like $5 a ball. It's like take my wallet out and throw $5 out.
Isn't it shocking? Because that's what I play, right? I mean, Pro V1, Pro V1X, depending on the course and conditions and stuff. And that's why I was curious, because I'm like, they do have a deep bench of golf balls. There's no dearth of options of golf balls within there. So I was curious. Shocking how they just happened to put you right there. But no, that
really good point that the golf ball is the only piece of equipment that you use on every single shot. So why you drop this much money on your clubs, and you may only use your putter probably the second most, but then
you're preaching to the choir. I mean, I was that kid begging my dad for, back then it was tour balatas or professionals, and it wasn't until once you can break not your arm, like break 85, break 80, and then you can start talking about better stuff. It's just fascinating to me because to the analytics. You pointed out you're a re-emerging stick. You're a rehabilitating hack, whatever you want to put it in the game. And there's these new options available for you, like getting a ball fitted, because who knows, it probably will over time. And I would be willing to, I'd love to talk to somebody else, like some gearhead, about this. Is it actually that the ball makes the difference, or once you make a commitment to a single feeling over time, no matter what it is, your game's going to adjust? Because I could probably adjust my game to play a hard pinnacle if I was, just for an entire season. But if you were bouncing back and forth, you'd notice.
I bet it's both. I bet it's anything.
Witch doctors. They're all witch doctors.
Than what I play usually. Usually what I find. It's just terrible, but I don't trust myself yet. And but I think there's all these options, and it's all really great. But at the end of the day, you have to go out there and you have to perform, and there's that human element. And one of the things I did, bringing baseball back into it, the Brewers team psychologist, he actually does a lot of work in the golf industry as well, with a lot of tour players and college players, and his wife, and they own a golf course here in Wisconsin too. So really interesting guy. And for my series of articles and working up to playing in a tournament last year, I sat down with him and did some of this mental analysis, and he has a whole program where you take this test online, and then based on your answers, he gives you things to work on. And can't control, you can go through these things that are somewhat analytic to get to that, but at the end of the day, you still have to figure out how you can deal with these things when you're in a high pressure situation or things like that.
I'm in a similar point in my game where I'm starting to, when I was younger, I did play in some, some AJGA tournaments, down in Florida, a couple of US junior qualifiers, especially when I was feeling good about what I was doing in high school. And then my mom would say, all right, let's go test it. And I'd go out there and shoot 80 and be like, what is going on? She's like, it's a different world. My sister was a competitive tennis player at West Virginia University, and she would say it's, the leaps you have to make mentally. But getting back into it, as a dad now, and after being away from the game for a few years, I moved from Florida up to Maine and realized the window of opportunity to play golf goes, and so it was hard, it was hard to get back into it. So I started playing tournaments in the last two years, and sure enough, it was it's hilarious how quickly your body remembers adrenaline, nerves, taste, smells, sounds, feelings, sunscreen, pressure, and all of a sudden, boom, you're back to 17 years old. 16 years old, and it takes you there. So it takes time. Yeah. So Caitlin, I might hit you up offline. Will you be my personal Yoda? I need some help getting back into a proper mental space. I got 4 or 5 qualifiers lined up for this year. I got to start exercising the noodle.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm not gonna ever take it that far. But yeah, we can talk.
Yeah, me either. But I am in the stage of my golf career where I'm just trying to keep it in bounce. I'm a solid like 14 handicap, so I'm out there just having fun. That's what I do. Because same thing, like I can play like, up until this year, this was the first year that I ever did a league, so I at least was able to play once a week. But before that, I was only able to play like once a year. Like it was just between not having any money really and time. It's just, man, golf's hard for a lot of reasons.
You make a good point. The accessibility to the game is another area where social media has incredibly helped grow just people seeing it, people being able to be inspired by it. And to Caitlin's point, it opens up an avenue for everybody. Nobody cares if you're Kanye or if you're Kid Rock or if you're Caitlin Moyer. What are you on the golf course? Oh, I'm a 14. I'm a 10. I'm a 22. Everybody's the same. Everybody's fighting the same demons or whatever it was. Brian Jones from CBS Sports a couple weeks ago said something along those lines. He's like, it's a little white ball and it's just sitting there. It didn't do anything to me. It didn't try to tackle me. It's not coming at me. It's not trying to he's like, but it owns us. And I think, and that's why it's such a universal sport, because anybody can pick it up. And no matter Jordan Spieth, that putt that just, I mean, somebody on the greens crew got paid, because that thing, no way a PGA Tour greenskeeper cut that hole. But you look at that and you're like, that happened to me. And I'm just, I was playing a beat up Volvic that I found in the swamp, and I wasn't out 1.7 million, but that's where we share it. And that's where the connection comes in the sport. Caitlin, do you go back to in Milwaukee in your Brewer days, back to the early 2000s? I'm doing math on the fly here when you're throwing numbers out. So you were around. I'm a Aaron Sorkin. If you're ever listening, I'd love to get coffee sometime. I was watching Moneyball again this weekend. So you were in the game when that, the Oakland A's, Billy Beane, and I know that's dramatized and there's probably people who are pissed off about how they were portrayed, but hey, meet Aaron Sorkin. The guy can write. What was it like to be on the ground, looking back now, knowing what we know now, how far this has come? What was it like to be on the ground for that?
Gosh, I started in 2003 as an intern in college. So yeah, the game has definitely changed. I was more focused on the marketing side, getting the fan engagement and telling the stories. Wasn't really privy to all the baseball operations, things like that. But we did have one of the smallest payrolls in baseball. And over time, seeing, our farm system develop, hiring new people in the front office that had different analytical mindsets and what this new scouting things were bringing to the team, and then how it paid off, because we went to the postseason 5 times during my career, but it took a while to get there. So I started in 2003. We went to the postseason in 2008, which was the first time for the franchise in 26 years. And then we went back in 11, and then 18, 19, and 20. So it was definitely, you could see that shift. And a lot of it was that scouting the talent early on, and raising some of the homegrown guys, making some smart trades that maybe weren't as popular with the fans at the time, and then waiting a while to see that pay off. So it's definitely an interesting time for the sport, and now it's a very interesting time for the sport.
Yeah, see if they play.
I was in my wanderlust about spring training until you said that, Andrew. I completely forgot about that. I see this push out there for college softball and college baseball to be taken up on these networks. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
put it on there.
Why not?
I hope that
college
softball baseball can capitalize on it.
What's that?
I hope minor league baseball can capitalize.
I'm so amateur when it comes to this. So is the lockout not affecting the minor leagues?
Correct.
Okay, because they're not part of the Major League Baseball players. So back to you. Yeah, I had to put 2 and 2 together there for a second. I see what you're saying. So we don't need to go to the college ranks. We can get the Portland.
Great too.
They are. I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, going to the Florida State games and the Super Regionals every year and College World Series. The whole experience is a dope thing. But you're right. The minor leagues, I didn't even think about that. Get the Portland Sea Dogs on there.
There you go. No more Lowell
Andrew knows what I'm talking about.
No more Lowell Spinners. Those are my hometown boys right there. They're gone now.
We're both in New England, and the Woo Sox nearby.
Oh, yeah,
I'm from Florida. I don't even know why I'm claiming New England. I say New England. Andrew and I sound nothing alike. It's like, yeah, sure you are, bud. People up here, even my wife's from Maine. She's like, don't tell people just tell them you're from Florida still, please.
And when it comes to New England and Florida, I mean, it's all about the season. You can be from both, and no one's ever going to question like, oh, I'm from Florida. But you say that up here, they're just like, oh yeah, cool. You're up here for the season, whatever.
Flatlander.
Yeah. So no, I love this. This has been some good. I wanted to get into some other questions for you though, Caitlin, because obviously as a female in the industry, I'm sure, especially going back to as far as 2003, I have to imagine that you've kind of had to face some individual hurdles, or maybe the way. No, I hope you haven't been treated in ways that would give you a story, but like, have you found that over the years, I'm assuming things have gotten better, but have they? Like, did you find yourself like struggling to get your footing in the industry as a female?
I don't think that I really didn't have an issue getting in. I think I did really well in school, and I got an internship and kind of got my foot in the door and just never took it out, took every advantage of every opportunity. And I used to attend this conference. I actually attended it virtually last year as well, the National Sports Forum. And it's a conference for people that work in front offices of everything from college level, minor leagues, major leagues, all different sports. And I remember attending it early on in my career and just walking right into the women's room and going to the bathroom at a break. And you guys are guys, you don't ever have to deal with this, but most places, the women's line, it's going to take you 15 minutes to get through a women's line. And I remember distinctly thinking, like, gosh, if there was one place where I want to wait in line at the bathroom, it's at a sports conference. I want more women to be here. And I think, over the years, gradually there's been more women hired, you're seeing females in coaching positions within baseball now, and high up in the front office ranks. So, on the operations side, which is really great. And so hopefully that stuff doesn't make headlines, anytime, in the future, because that means it's the norm. But these women are continuing to break barriers, and it's awesome. So yeah, I personally didn't have, thankfully, a lot of those hardships that I know a lot of people have had. But I think that's just a credit to, some of the people that I worked with, and, just putting my head down and doing the best job I could.
No, I think that's awesome to hear that, people kind of had your back, and I think it's funny for the bathroom to be your kind of like your I guess your scale of each year and how many more women are getting into the industry. I think that's it's probably a very accurate scale, honestly, because we have all seen the lines at
you go to a concert, you go to a sporting event, and it's like, oh man, good luck. But
so real quick, my sophomore year in college, I went to the University of Georgia. And I don't know if y'all remember a show back in the early 2000s on Fox, the OC. Everybody remembers da-na-na-na-na. Don't sue me for the song.
I don't.
But anyways, in Athens, Georgia, they were doing a promotion. They were going to do a screening of the first 2 episodes of season 2. And me and my buddy were like, "Hey, let's go. There's free tickets. We heard it on the radio and everything like that." On the radio, not online, kids. Look it up. But you had to go to the local mall and go into Victoria's Secret, and they were free. You just had to go in and just ask for them. We didn't twist my arm. So we walk in, we get them. But then when we show up it was in downtown at what's called the Classic Center. You can still go there now. It's a great venue for shows and ballets and performances of all types. We walked in and we realized we were wildly in the minority. And Caitlin, we were going to get to see the first 4 episodes, I think it was. So it was like, it was a long night. Sure enough, no problems in the bathroom for us. And the entire night, because it was an auditorium about 500. So the entire night there was a line from the women's room, because again, they weren't used to people getting up a lot or large crowds. So there's only 2-3 stalls in there all the way out the entire night. The OC, such a good show, short-lived.
I can't say I ever watched it. I obviously knew what it was, but I never watched an episode.
You're not missing much.
I thought you just said it was a great show.
It was. Now I'm 40. I have things to do. Like talk to
you find
Caitlin.
something on Netflix later to just binge watch, right? That's
Yeah.
no, but so no, that's I think it's I'd be curious to see if we ever got to see something. Obviously there's the men's golf and women's golf, and it's very separate, but I feel like something like a female caddy on the men's tour, like would that be something? I wonder if that would be something that would be
There are some.
are there
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know Steve Stricker's wife, Nikki Stricker,
Oh,
she
okay.
caddies, and he's a Wisconsin guy. He's awesome. And actually his two daughters, and one of them was an intern at the WSGA. So I work with the Wisconsin State Golf Association, and they had a really cool program last year. It's called America's #1 Golf Internship. And they hired a couple of interns to play. Their job was to play the top courses in the state. They got paid to play golf and then generate content about it. So Steve Stricker's daughter was one of them, and I had the opportunity to play with her and Nikki Stricker out at Black Wolf Run, and wonderful woman, really awesome, and she plays like just as well. She could probably be out there on the tour. The way she was reading greens and everything is awesome. And then a couple weeks, just met her one time in my life. A couple weeks later, I was at the American Family Insurance tournament that's also hosted here at Champions event. And I was following their group, and she happened to walk by. I'm just in the gallery, and she says, "Oh, hello, Caitlin. Like, remembered my name?" And like totally out of context. And I was just so impressed. So I think she's awesome.
I mean, this Steve Stricker, first of all, Wisconsin, then you go to the micro. You all really are the nicest humans on earth. My family's from Michigan, so there's a little bit of envy there. But Fanny Sunnison is another one. Nick Faldo's longtime caddy. She was on the bag for a bunch of majors for him. Just recently,
shows how much I know about the caddies.
Here's the thing too. We talk about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these pros who are out there, they can't bankroll a caddy. I mean, these caddies are taking home 10%, if they make the cut, 15 to 20 if they win. A lot of times they do get a per diem. Some of them, I mean, some of the bigger players, I don't even want to know what those contracts are like. And so oftentimes who's there with you? It's your partner, it's your spouse, it's who, so Akshay Bhatia, and please, I'm going to get, I know that's not how you say it. But the left-handed, wonder kid who won on the Corn Ferry Tour the other week, his girlfriend was on the bag, which their story is hilarious. He slid into her DMs before the Valero Open last year and just said, "Hey, we should meet up." And now she's on the bag for him on the Corn Ferry Tour. But Andrew, it's a great question though, because they're not at that profile. I said Fanny Sunnison, and I can't really, put my hand on another one. Lee Westwood's wife is on the bag, and that relationship was born out of a mental coach psychology partnership. But your point being, there's other ways for the game to grow, to expand. These caddy programs that probably we're always like the rest of golf, a good old boy tradition. Who do you know? And my nephew did it last year, and his schoolmates, and they're all going to do it. Maybe just saying, well, maybe it's Nice this year. Maybe because anybody can carry a bag, anybody can look at yardage, anybody can check the wind and hand a club. It's a universal thing.
Caddying is hard. I did it like twice, and it's really hard. So it was going to be my summer job in high school, and local country club. And I was really doing it so that I could get to play the course on Mondays. And I never did it long enough to get that opportunity, because my first person I was assigned to, I had to carry this giant staff bag, and you guys can't see me. I'm 5'3", and I was probably 30 pounds lighter, and I'm just trying to struggle and carry this thing. And then I got tipped a sleeve of balls at the end of the round, and I was like, I don't think I can do this. I'm gonna go take a job at the movie theater.
Oh, way better. Wait, we need to do an entire episode just about what movies you got to see that summer. But Andrew, did I talk about it last week? I caddied one time, probably. I caddied one time on it was the Corn Ferry Tour, but it was called the Nike Tour back then. They came to Tallahassee. They came to Golden Eagle Country Club where I grew up. And my mom, I was 13, and she just said, just go out there. So I went out there. I showed up to the pro shop. They pointed me over to the caddy tent. I signed in. They laughed at me because I was dressed like I was ready to go play golf. They told me to go home and change. So I did. I went home and got a t-shirt on and some running shoes and whatnot. And sure enough, after about 20 minutes of standing around, a guy named Bobby Elliott just said, you got a bag? He said, you got a bag? I said, no, sir. said, "You live here?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "All right, do you know how to read greens?" I was like, "Not really." He's like, "Good, because I can read greens, but I don't know the course." And so we went and played a practice round. And on the 6th hole, everybody was hitting a 2-iron. It's a dog leg left that goes up to a blind tee shot and then kind of a 45-degree angle downhill to the green. But if you've never been there before, the green book says just to hit a little long iron up to the right, up to the top of the hill. So I just said to him, I was like, Mr. Elliott, if you take your 3-wood over that trap there, you'll probably be about 40, 50 yards off the green. And he did it. And he looked at me when we got to the top of the hill and he said, "You're hired." So at 13, he made the cut. I got 4 days on the bag. I got, I think, $200. He gave me $50 around, all the balls that, and all the free stuff that he couldn't take with him to schlep to his next stop. But the big win for the week was all my friends, we would sneak onto the driving range at night and go in all the nooks and crannies where the picker couldn't get the nice precepts that they got to use that week. Nice. So we all had like these gigantic trash bags of free golf balls for another year. But it is hard. So when I was saying anybody can do it, I meant the activity is not specialized to the point where there's no barrier to entry other than grit.
So they paid you to do that. It wasn't a volunteer?
No, it was, his name's Bobby Elliott. I'm trying to find him online too, because he's from Las Vegas. He was a Corn Ferry guy. He went around a few times. I don't know if he got any wins. We actually, in the practice round, Tommy Armour III was in our group, and that dude was a freaking hoot. You could tell that he kind of knew that his family name. He's like, "I'm Tommy Armour." Like, look,
I followed him at events before.
He's a freaking riot. But like, you could tell that he's holding up a club, like kind of knowing, like, yeah, I know that my last name is Vanderbilt, but not in like a way that makes you hate him. Much more like it's like he's carrying like a burden, but he kind of likes it. He was a hoot. But I'll tell you what, for a 13-year-old kid, and like you said, the bag. So he just said, no, he's like, he didn't bring a caddy with him. They all would just go to spots and find either local kids or the caddies that would follow from stop to stop. And nobody really, it was dope. The other caddies were super nice. I remember being terrified, not knowing where to stand or anything like that, but instincts take over. If you know the etiquette of the game, you just follow the etiquette of the game. And the other caddies were super, super friendly about it too.
That's cool. I was wondering, because I just had a friend tell me that we have a Symetra tour stop here in Milwaukee, and that was one of his volunteer opportunities. Is he was a caddy, so instead of just being a marshal or anything like that, he was caddy. Like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's kind of cool.
And that just, we talk about how far the game still has to come. The Symetra Tour, this was 1996, so 25 years after. And I got paid, but again,
that's what I was wondering. Like, well, I don't think Doug got paid. So,
well, that being said, it was out of Bobby's pocket. It wasn't like it was coming from the tour or the country club or anything like that. So it could also be that maybe nowadays, I don't know, maybe they do it different. Maybe they do have a volunteer caddy program, because I'll tell you what, you talk to pro caddies, and there are people out there with dreams. I would do it in a heartbeat. You find somebody that Michael Greller, Jordan Spieth relationship. Mike was a middle school teacher. I was a middle school teacher. So any players out there, I really will do it. But it's kind of a dream for those people, because more so than anything, those men and women who are hitting those shots need to feel comfortable and confident in the moment. It's not that they don't know which club to hit. They know what they hit 185 yards uphill into the wind, blah, 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 blah. They know what that is. They need the voice inside their head to be outside of their head saying yep or nope, and that's kind of more so where it's at. I'm not denigrating the caddies out there. A lot of them are professional players or emerging ones. But my point being, the magic doesn't just happen because you can carry a bag and know the sport. You have to have a relationship, and I think that's the thing about golf. It's all about connections and relationships.
There's a great caddy documentary on Amazon Prime. I'll just put a plug in for that. I watched it like last week. I don't know, it might be like a year or two old. But
like Loopers?
No.
Okay.
Maybe. Sorry, I don't remember.
No, I'm gonna end up probably watching it tomorrow morning. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna go find it when I get back from this trip for sure.
You're gonna sleep for 3 days when you get back from this trip.
Probably. So speaking of, do you think Jordan Spieth's caddy ever told him to not step near that edge last weekend? Yeah. Do you think he said, "Dude, just forget it, just let it go"?
I think he said, take the drop, take your 5. You've got how many opportunities to make it up ahead of you, including 18, which to guys like that, they're thinking 3 when the adrenaline's running that high.
For sure. And if anybody listening doesn't know what we're talking about, I forget what hole it was, but it went by. Was it 8?
Yep.
Yeah, when viral, Jordan Spieth has a shot standing, inches away from a straight 70-foot down drop into the cliffs in the ocean there, and at Pebble, and uh, he goes sprinting away after he hits the shot, and even said afterwards that it was probably a stupid decision on him to do it. But you got to imagine him and his caddy might have had some differing opinions there. As someone who, the caddy, I'm assuming, doesn't have the same adrenaline rush that the player has in those moments where sometimes they're thinking a little bit more clearer.
Yeah, I think I actually read an article. I don't want to butcher and say the wrong thing, but I think I read an article this morning that talked about it was definitely an article about Spieth and his caddy, and like something happened a couple years ago where he was caught on TV like saying.
I read that too. Yeah.
And afterwards, he was just like, "Oh, I'm mortified. Like I was just upset. Of course, I didn't mean that." But I think that because the article was recent, it was referring to that shot, and that his caddy was like, "Yeah, he wasn't on board." But they
said that he wasn't on board. It wasn't as they were saying like it wasn't as bad or as divisive. They were saying, they have their disagreements before, as exampled by, and then they did pull one of the times where, thanks, Michael, and the freaking blah blah blah. The coda there though was Jordan said he went home when he saw himself on TV. He was mortified. He was like, oh, okay, because in the moment, who you blame things on, broken more clubs than we care to talk about. It wasn't my fault. It was the clubs.
it just made me think, coming from the caddy speak that we were going, that it's an interesting dynamic where I wonder who out there would have let the caddy, who has the relationship out there where the caddy would have been able to talk them out of that shot. Like I'm not asking you guys for your opinion necessarily, but just I think it's an interesting dynamic, those conversations between a caddy and a player. Like sometimes some of those caddies have a pretty strong hold over the player and are actually making a lot of the decisions, and then the player just goes out there and executes it.
Again, having your brain live outside your body. Let me go into robot mode. Let me go into Zen mode. Let me go into muscle memory. They're standing over a putt, and all they want to hear is length, break, grain. They just give me the ingredients, and then back through, and they kind of pray, and that's what that caddy is doing. Again, I say it like it's simple. Just give me the information, but it's the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. No meat, no fluff. Just give me the meat and potatoes. Let me do my work, and then we'll all eat good after this. That's the dream, anyways.
So have either of you guys ever been in a golf situation where either you were in a dangerous situation with a shot you were going to take, or I know for me, I'm more of a danger to myself or other people around me when playing. It's not necessarily that I'm going to get hurt. You really got to watch out if you're around me. I mean, I've magically hit balls at a 90-degree angle off of the cart next to me before. I don't know how, but I nailed that post that holds up the roof of the cart before. It was something special. I'll tell you that right now. But have either one of you been in a position where you could have been hurt playing the golf, which is a sport that not many people get hurt playing?
I mean, none of my shots are, I haven't broken par or anything like that. So there's no like big money on the line for me. So, but I have done some things that are way less risky than a cliffhanger there. But here in Wisconsin, we play golf as long as there's not 4 inches of snow on the ground. So I can remember like a frozen pond, and normally the ball would have been in the pond, but test it out. It seems like it's frozen solid. I can step out there and hit it on, and I made par on a hole from a frozen pond. But I knew the worst that was going to happen is if I cracked through, then I was going to have to like probably leave, because I'd have like ice cold water up to my knees. But I wasn't in danger of dying, like Spieth falling over the edge of a cliff potentially. But also he had a lot more on the line, so.
Yeah, that's a shot you don't want to take a divot out on if you're standing on ice.
No.
I was going to say, it's a pretty thin lie there to begin with. Being a Florida kid, just the gators and snakes that you see, and it's not a cliche. They exist. Number 11, back at my old stomping ground, there was a long bunker that ran from about 150 yards off the tee all the way up to the end of the 400-yard par 4, lake water down the left, and it's just this long bunker. So where did alligators go to sun? They would just sit there. If your tee shot went left, it's up to you. I mean, you'd see them. You knew they were going to be down there. The scarier ones for me were the rattlesnakes. So, if you hit it in the woods, you hit it in a ditch, especially dried out creeks, it's not, it's not fun. You don't go looking for it, you don't swing at anything. But as far as like dangerous, like falling, no, it's.
I don't play courses with cool enough features.
That's where I was trying to go.
I'm
like
die playing on.
I was listening to PGA Tour radio this morning, taking my kid to daycare, and they were talking about this, obviously, like we are, because everybody's talking about it. And I can't remember which host it was. He was overseas in Scotland or Ireland, and they were playing one of the coastal courses, and they were on a cliff that was hundreds of feet, not 60 feet. And he was trying to help people kind of understand, how far Jordan was, but just also how much further he could have been. And they were on the ocean, so they hit a golf ball, and a normal golf ball that apex is at 120 feet will be in the air for about, I think he said 10 to 12 seconds. Their ball was in the air. They hit it off the cliff into the ocean, sat there, watched it land the whole time. And it was like 38 seconds of hang time before the ball hit the water. And that's the course, because he was trying to make the point of, like Pebble's on a cliff, but like we were over here on this other side. But then his buddy chimed in. He goes, yeah, but were you being asked to hit it, standing on the edge of it, off of it, leaning it? And he went down the whole thing. He's like, well, no, that's a whole different ball game. The Squid Game is a perfect example. What would you do for $1.7 million? I mean, people do. I know it's a show, but I'm saying, what would you do if the money was on the line?
I never would have thought Squid Game would get brought up on the show in relation to a Jordan Spieth golf
and
shot.
OC. It's two references that
I too
both up in an hour. So
I too am a 5-tool player. I too am a 5-tool player. We haven't even gone down. We don't have time for that in this hour. That'll be for the next time I get freelanced into a podcast. Hopefully this one. I'd love to come back. That's what you do. You do it out in public, and then Andrew's gonna be like, never talking to this guy again. Change the number.
I think Jordan Spieth is good for golf. His shots are memorable. They're getting talked about. Everyone wants to see that highlight. He did a similar thing at the Ryder Cup back here in Wisconsin. Almost ran into the lake. I like that style of play. I know maybe not endangering yourself to that level, but taking the risky shots. It's more relatable. We can't say that we would have hit that shot. We might have ended up where he was, but we wouldn't probably dared to hit that shot. But it's relatable.
That's why guys like him, Phil, Arnie, shot makers, people who Bubba. Sevy, thank you. Sevy. Oh, yes. People like that who we relate to them, because when they get in trouble, we're like, I know that shot, but then they hit it, and we're like, that's what I want to hit, and they're just not.
That's exactly what I pictured when I did it.
Exactly, and so with Jordan Spieth, that's why it's like we're all going, God, I'd love to just kind of choke up on a 7-iron, put it up in my stance, press forward, and just kind of give it a little swipe, and then chase off. I'm like, a little swipe, we would whiff that thing 4 or 5 times, falling backwards before somebody reminded us that we were still 5 feet from the ball. I'd love to sit here on this show and say that I'd be like, yeah, I'd grab my 6-iron, just punch it on across no, take the drop. It's one stroke, and I'm not going to break par anyway.
I'd hit that shot, no problem. I would just pull my foot wedge out and take care of business.
just push that little ball right off the cliff. Just finish the job for him, buddy. I'm gonna put you out of your misery.
This cliff is an immovable object. All right, free drop. So we're coming to the end of the show here. There's definitely questions that we left on the table that I would have loved to get to, but I love just letting the conversation kind of flow. It's the style that I like for the show. I think it's just relaxed. I like to keep it that way. But I want to take the time to, as we end most shows here, I want to give the opportunity to Caitlin and Bud, to you again, to kind of just spread some words of wisdom or inspiration or just good vibes, whatever you want to call it, to the listeners out there. Just what's something positive you can kind of end your time on the show here with, to leave people with. So Caitlin, we'll start with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, we've talked a lot about my career path and what I always tell. I'm also an adjunct professor, but that's a story for another day. But I always tell them, find something that you love and then find a way to get paid to do it. And that is what I've been fortunate enough to do in my career. Get paid to watch baseball, play to be around golf, play golf. And I feel very, very fortunate, but I think, that's achievable for a lot of people. So, just got to figure out where do you fit in? If you love golf and you want to make it a career, like how can you work that into your life?
Love it for sure. But what you got for us?
Well, the first things I'm going to pick up is when you figure out how to do what Caitlin said, hit me up at this buds for you on Twitter and let me know how you figured out to make golf part of your life. Cause there's a reason I refer to my future former 9 to 5, cause a man has dreams. No, I just think that, again, being a former teacher and in my future former 9 to 5, I work with a lot of college age students myself. And the one thing that I tell them is it's a big world and golf is a big community. And as long as everybody is interacting with each other with curiosity, empathy, and respect, and that doesn't necessarily mean acceptance, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to eat everybody's cake and to try everybody's this, but as long as empathy, curiosity, and respect are alive and well, and we give each other space to do our thing, go out there and do your thing and make people happy. Golf's not going to make you happy. You have to make yourself happy. You can play golf and use it to make you happy, but it's not going to work on its own. The damn thing's too hard.
No, I love that.
Curiosity, empathy, and respect. Sorry. Back to you in the studio.
It's going to be I'm going to get a t-shirt with that on it for you to wear. Back to you in the studio. No, I love both those things. So we got a couple minutes left here. So I want to end as always, Caitlin. Where can people find you? What do you have? What exciting new stuff do you have going on that you want to share with everyone? That this is your chance to plug yourself and just have at it. So tell the people a little bit about yourself.
So my website is CaitlinMoyer.com, and there you can find out about all the services that I offer for my marketing and communications business. Get in touch with me for freelance writing. You can check out some of my past articles if you're interested. We didn't touch on it, but I am also a fitness professional. So I'm a certified personal trainer and a yoga teacher with a golf fitness specialization. So I do a lot of different things, like yoga for golfers clinics, for example, and I put out some videos. I have a YouTube channel. There's a link on my website. And then I just love creating content, spending as long as I did in social media. I still like to create my own content. So like last year, for example, I put paint on a lot of golf balls and I hit them into a canvas and just made a random abstract piece of art. So I made a little video of that. And I
love that.
Stuff like that. So check out CaitlinMoyer.com, and then you can find me on Twitter. You can see my handle there. And if you just basically go to my website, you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn and wherever else. Let's connect.
As a former art major, I absolutely love the paint and golf ball. That's awesome.
That's fun. It was
I'm
really
trying to come up with a pun about Jackson Pollock and golf.
Yeah, I can't think of one fast enough either myself, but and then but we can still find you at Stick and Hack on Twitter. What do you got going on right now?
Well, right now, Stick and Hack, if you haven't been to stickandhack.com, check them out. It's a fun place if you enjoyed this, you would enjoy that because it's a similar crew of intersection of life and golf. You can find me on the early tee on Stick and Hack. It's a daily email that goes out, a little daily dose of life and golf. Sometimes there's a joke thrown in there. And then, like you said, on Twitter and Instagram, I am old, so I am new to the game. Find me at This Bud's For You. I will interact. I will be out there. You'll find me and I will find you. Andrew, back to you in the studio.
Fantastic. So as always, I want to thank Belly Up Sports. You can find me bellyupsports.com or bellyupfantasysports.com. I'm on both. Right now, mainly in the running this podcast, so I don't have many articles out at the moment, but keep an eye out for those coming up. Huge shout out to tikilive.com. They're the home of our new Belly Up Sports TV station channel, and where you can find this show every Wednesday 10 a.m. Live or pre-recorded. It'll always be on at 10 a.m. on Wednesday mornings, Eastern time, I should say. So find us there. And also just one big shout out, Super Bowl is right around the corner this coming Sunday. Tune in to Belly Up Sports TV, 12 o'clock Eastern on Super Bowl Sunday. We have a 3.5 hour Sports Banana live show with special guests and fun games. Tons of stuff planned for you guys coming. So please check that out. We are working very hard on that, and it's going to be a blast, a perfect way to start the day off. So
I can't freaking wait. That's going to be fun. That's going to be I'm going to pop my cherry with Belly Up on Super Bowl Sunday. You can talk about t-shirts. Who do you got, Andrew? Super Bowl.
I really want the Bengals. I think the Rams win, but I really want the Bengals to win because I don't want Matt Stafford to be in the Hall of Fame conversation.
Fighting words. You're talking to a Georgia guy. Caitlin, who do you got in the Super Bowl?
Do you mean the Snooper Bowl? Because I was there for the halftime show.
Funny enough, that's my segment on our sports, our Super Bowl pregame. I'll bring you top 10 Super Bowl halftime shows. So tune in, Caitlin. If you're a halftime
Every
show
week
person,
on Divots and Pivots, you never know what you're going to get.
Never. But hey, we are at the end of our time. We got to sign off here
Okay.
before I get in trouble with the big time leaders over at Belly Up. So tune in next week, 10 o'clock Wednesday morning Eastern on Belly Up TV on TikiLive.com. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Bud. Thank you, all of you, for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, guys.